King decided to leave the industry as he could see that small butchers were being squeezed by big corporate competitors. He subsequently went to university and now works in public relations. King has not pursued recovery of his super, preferring to move on with his life. Reluctant to act, the tax office estimates workers are ripped off to the tune of $2.85 billion each year in unpaid superannuation. Industry Super Australia, the umbrella group for industry super funds, estimates the amount of unpaid super to be up to almost twice the tax office's estimate. Its analysis shows almost 3 million workers were shortchanged their compulsory superannuation, by an average of almost $2,000 each in 2015-16. Many of those who are underpaid their super, work part-time and casually and often for smaller employers. Loading part of the reason for the extent of the underpayment problem is that it has been largely up to employees to raise the issue with their employers, or to raise it with the tax office, which, understandably, many workers are reluctant to do. Most employers have to pay superannuation of 9.5% of wages to employees earning more than $450 in a calendar month. Whether an employee is part-time or casual is irrelevant. Those aged under 18 have to work at least 30 hours a week before they are entitled to superannuation. Risk to job. David Haynes, Executive Manager of Policy and Research at the Australian Institute of Superannuation Trustees, says complaining about not receiving super can be a shortcut to losing your job, which is why some employees only seek to recover their super after they have left. The government has legislation before Parliament designed to better enforce the payment of super. The bill introduces serious consequences for employers who break the law by shortchanging their employees. Employers who fail to follow orders to pay unpaid super can face imprisonment for up to 12 months. The penalty would apply to the directors of the company. From July 1 next year, the single-touch payroll will cover all employers, including small employers, where most of the problems occur. That will give the tax office more timely information on how much employers owe their employees and identify non-compliance earlier. Also, from the middle of this year, super funds will have to report each payment made to them by employers into their employees' super accounts to the tax office when the payment occurs. Amnesty for employers. For 12 months from May 24 this year, when the bill was introduced to Parliament, employers have an amnesty to clear unpaid super without incurring late payment penalties. The one-off amnesty doesn't let the underpaying employers completely off the hook. They still must pay interest on the unpaid super to the employee. If they don't pay within the amnesty period and they are caught, they will be hit with a penalty worth 50% of the outstanding super guarantee. The government introduced legislation to Parliament last year to close a loophole in the law where unscrupulous employers shortchange superannuation contributions for employees who use salary sacrifice arrangements. This is where some employers calculate compulsory super on the lower wages after salary sacrifice contributions are deducted. Matt Linden, the Public Affairs Director of Industry Super Australia, says the bill before Parliament, while welcome, needs to go further. The bill does not reflect the changing nature of work, nor does it fully harness technological improvements that have occurred since the introduction of compulsory super over a quarter of a century ago, he says. He says the bill fails to protect young people and women in casual, temporary and contract employment who are missing out on thousands of dollars a year in super entitlements. Linden says it continues to shut hundreds of thousands of workers out of the compulsory superannuation system by retaining the $450 a month threshold. It also fails to change the minimum frequency of super guarantee payments from quarterly to monthly or fortnightly to align with wage payments and enhance transparency, he says. The first step is to check with your employer. If your employer is unresponsive, you should contact your super fund to ask how much you are owed. David Haynes of the Australian Institute of Superannuation Trustees says industry funds generally have an arrears process that pursues unpaid super from employers. The funds do that on a proactive basis and don't wait for a member complaint. They track when contributions are expected and when they have not been forthcoming, Haynes says. He says the funds also act on behalf of members who are employed by companies that have become insolvent. They get involved in the process to ensure that people get their entitlements, he says. A spokesperson for industry fund, HostPlus, which covers workers in the hospitality industry, says, on average, the fund is recovering about $2 million of unpaid super a month for its members. Some retail funds are helping their members to keep better track of super contributions. For example, Future Super has a Pay Watch feature that alerts members if payments are not received. Members note when they should receive super contributions from their employer in their Future Super account. If a payment isn't made, the fund sends the member a missing contribution notification email. After that, however, it is up to the member to follow up with their employer to recover the money. Failing success from these steps, there is the tax office, which has advice on how to recover your super and how you can report an employer.